Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada yada yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go.
Whoa.
He gets both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Well, isn't that confusing? Formula One fans, welcome to the Tie Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. We've got a fun episode ahead of you. We had the United States Grand Prix this week at Circuit of the Americas. But of course, we've got your usual quick hitters. We'll get into some roster conversations and whatnot, and get through the whole race weekend. But Justin, it is good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. We've got the, obviously we got the United States Grand Prix, just a Formula One weekend. We didn't have any of the supporting categories, so we'll be able to, just get into the quick hitters and then get right into the action. I'm looking forward to this week's hot seat. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Awesome. So starting off with the quick hitters, we had some news around just motorsports in general. The FIA announced that they're going to be starting an e-karting series program that's going to have a junior and a senior class. So karting, but with electric carts versus the standard being gas powered gas powered carts. So just another potential entry point that people can get into motorsports, get into racing at the lower levels, and potentially progress towards things like Formula E and other E series that are out there. So cool addition from the FIA.
Yeah, very cool. And especially it kind of goes along with the net zero by 2030 kind of goal that they have for Formula One. So yeah, if they can add in, renewable sources of energy to, power any new, what's the word that I'm looking for? Series.
Yeah. So definitely a cool category to add, and just expanding that reach of motorsports more into that more carbon neutral or more environmentally friendly series as well. Um, Over to the World Endurance Championship series, we've got the announcement that Porsche will be stopping their factory program for the World Endurance Championships this coming year. They'll still be keeping their GT series vehicles as a factory team as well, but kind of dropping out of that WEC program is a big announcement. They're one of the longest standing names in the endurance championships, so for them to be leaving, it's definitely a loss for both sides, I think, in that. But there have been reports, and so maybe the shift in focus for Porsche going to that GT series. There's been conversations of Max and his GT team potentially switching from Ferrari to Porsche. I believe Max had a meeting. There were reports with the Porsche team over at their headquarters. So potentially trying to maybe like revamp the way that they're going about their programs in motorsports, and maybe looking to get some additional eyes, additional funding potentially to further those series as well.
Because was he driving a Porsche in the recent,
He
what?
wasn't. So he did in the permit weekend, which is
That's
what
right.
he
Okay.
had to. But then for uh, the um, the Nurburgring race that he did with Crystal in the 6 hours,
Mm-hmm.
he or 4 hours I think it was. But either way, he was driving a Ferrari 296, I believe, for that race. So his primary
Gotcha.
racing team drives for a Ferrari in the GT3 series.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the connection then. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so potentially like having those conversations, if Porsche is able to get him to come over, it could mean more potential funding or just sponsorships and whatnot that they can get, and maybe bring more money back in for them to go back into some of these other series and whatnot. I mean, the Verstappen name definitely has enough pull to at least get some extra eyes onto that. So I feel like that might be kind of the angle that they're working right now, but for the meantime, it's just unfortunately them leaving that World Endurance Championship starting next year. Um, but talking about some single seater racing and kind of a shift over, we have, and I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name. I believe it's Kai Rovenpera, who is retiring from the Rally Car World Championship at the age of 25 after becoming world champion. And he is going to be switching to Super Formula in single seater racing for this upcoming year. He had a test with Red Bull in Austria. He was a Red Bull sponsored rally driver, but I believe he was driving for Toyota in rally car. So moving over to that single seater racing and potentially looking to jump from there into Formula Two. It sounds like that's his kind of trajectory or path that he's thinking. So um, next year it'll be interesting to kind of keep tabs on him over in the Super Formula and see then if he does get that opportunity towards F2 and become kind of an older F1 driver potentially at that point being um, 25 now. He'd be looking at probably being 28 years old before he would be potentially joining F1 as a rookie. So kind of a very pretty interesting um, thing to keep an eye on and kind of something that I was caught my interest this past week looking into just the other motorsports out there.
Yeah, for sure. And Super Formula is the Japanese single seater premier series,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's
Okay.
Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson both drove in that series. I believe Pierre Gasly did as well. Um, but there's a few F1 drivers that has been part of their path up through the ranks to reach F1. Um, so for that to be kind of, uh, I think it's an easier transition maybe into Super Formula because it's not as maybe as much of a cost to be a part of the series like Formula 2 is. So getting that single seater experience in a regional driving opportunity and then proving himself potentially to get sponsorships into Formula 2 and all. I think it's pretty cool to see just the opportunities that are I feel like coming up for different drivers to drive in other series or kind of taking their career paths in just instead of focusing solely on IndyCar, Formula One, whatever, kind of branching out into these other series, kind of more by choice versus kind of just looking to maintain a drive.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like with the increase of teams having multinational like organizations, you're more seeing the cross pollination of drivers like into other series, and to your point, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think with that too, like it helps that some of these larger companies have developed, like you said, these like partnerships across regions and oceans and everything for their drivers because yeah, you have that Red Bull connection for Rovanpera, but then you also have um, like McLaren who has the IndyCar and Formula One team. You have just all these branches into Formula E, World Endurance Championship, and everything that get those drivers or now are giving those drivers the opportunity instead of being more segmented individually. But
Hmm.
speaking just about another one of those switches just this past weekend, Will Power from IndyCar drove in the 8 hours of Indy. He and his team had a P6 finish out of 25 teams. Um, so a pretty strong performance. I didn't catch much on how he did individually, but P6 in his first opportunity in an endurance championship is definitely cool. I know Indy, of course, he knows the circuit. Um, it's kind of most Indy car teams' home base, so he's not like really venturing out too crazy, but still a cool opportunity to be a part of that team.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Indianapolis circuit that accompanies the oval. That wasn't an 8 hours of the oval, correct?
I believe it was the street circuit, yeah. So
Gotcha. Okay, very
not the
cool.
oval, yeah. So a little bit different than what he's used to in IndyCar, even with some knowledge of the track, of course. Um, but yeah, another cool crossover there with Will Power.
Big time.
Uh,
Yeah, P6, that's solid.
Yeah. And so kind of staying in the IndyCar, I mentioned the McLaren team having IndyCar and Formula One. There is one of the big pieces of news over the past couple of weeks was the uh, civil case between Alex Palou and the McLaren team. I believe it's somewhere around a $20 million sum of money that I believe McLaren is suing for, suing Alex Palou. Um, that has just brought up a lot of interesting things to the surface and kind of the McLaren organization has taken a little bit of or at least Zach Brown himself has taken a little bit of backlash from it, but he apparently had sort of implied to Alex Palou that he would give him an opportunity in F1 if he signed with their IndyCar team. At the end of the day, it seems like from Alex Palou's side that there was no real expectation that he would ever get an opportunity to drive in Formula One, save for an FP1 session here or there. And so he ended up breaking that contract with McLaren because he felt like he was had signed it under false pretenses. So there's been a lot of conversation. There's been a lot of drivers who've spoken on it. But yeah, kind of uh, not so exciting, I guess. Out like attention on McLaren outside of their actual racing here with the lawsuit there with Alex.
Yeah, we're not too far away from the confusion around the Oscar Piastri contract, with McLaren, where it was one team thought he was going to sign with them. He was actually going to sign with McLaren. So yeah, just a couple instances. Not saying that that one was McLaren's fault. Just kind of just stating that a few issues surrounding contracts recently where otherwise it feels like you just hear about either signing or not signing,
Right.
less of these like breaches or confusion, or maybe
Yeah.
like a verbal agreement doesn't make it all the way to completion. So yeah, interesting stuff. But I think my overall reaction, because I mean, like at the end of the day, McLaren's like a big organization. What are you gonna,
Right.
you know what I mean? What are you gonna? I don't know, man. I don't know about this
Yeah.
stuff. I'm no lawyer, but like my initial reaction was good on Pelot for realizing like the time frame expectation is very different. Like he would have
Right.
wanted to drive right now because it's like, hey, I'm winning an IndyCar, like I give
Mm,
me a seat, right? Whereas McLaren, they have a couple of contracts already. So if you look at that realistically, and it's like, okay, well, if McLaren's not going to breach those contracts, there is just not a seat available for, till 2027 or whatever it is.
yeah.
So yeah, good on Pillow for like realizing the window is like very narrow, and it's just like, let me just keep rolling where I'm going. It'll likely open up other opportunities possibly. And even if it's not with McLaren, like that doesn't mean he closes out the Formula One chance like forever, right? It
Yeah.
it just may not be with that organization. So yeah, good on Pillow for saying, yeah, I breached his contract, but you know what, like it wasn't looking great from their side either. So if that's a cost, I'm happy to pay it and then be out of there.
Yeah, and so that was like definitely the Oscar contract tied into that because this happened like right after Oscar got the drive, and so it was like that time frame where, um, yeah, like Zach Brown in some of these court documents, there's like text messages basically showing that Oscar was not Zach's pick. He would have picked Pillow, but he didn't actually have the authority to give Pillow the drive versus Oscar. And so yeah, I think it's worked out well for Pillow to kind of just continue on, like you said, where he's at, and just continue winning in IndyCar. But yeah, just a weird situation, especially since it is like, um everything's so delayed with court cases.
Well, and like it worked out for Piastri and with Piastri too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he's some
Oh,
deadbeat.
absolutely.
So yeah, I think to a certain degree that seat got filled reasonably.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that they'll have to tie each other up in court, and hopefully it doesn't yeah, hopefully it doesn't generate like any ill will or anything like this, because yeah, it does. Whatever. I just hope he
Yeah,
can keep winning.
definitely. I think it just would make sense to just call it a day with that. But moving over to more F1 news, we had the F1
Hmm.
TV announcement with that they'll be switching to Apple TV for the Formula One broadcasts and rights for the United States starting next year. Um, with that, all I really hope for is that they maintain the team that has put together the broadcasts for F1 TV. I think they do a really solid job. I like all the people that are involved with the broadcast, the commentating, um, the just post and pre-race shows and everything. I think they have a lot of really talented people on their team, and so I hope that Apple TV just kind of takes the rights but maintains that structure that they have because I really enjoy the additional stuff on the race weekends, that the additional content we get with the pre and post race shows and all of that.
Well, and genuinely, Alex Jakes is a gift to the sport, and if they took him off of the broadcast, that would be a crime against humanity and all of Formula One. So yeah, to your point, I do hope they at least keep some of the heavy hitters. I would understand if some things have to change, like if you gotta ruin my immersion, whatever. Just don't take Alex Jakes away.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. So I think I I'm looking forward to hopefully them continuing on with that broadcast, kind of maintaining it as it is, maybe with some fun additions. But yeah, hopefully there's
Because the
not too much change.
Because the bottom line is like it's a really clean production. It's
It
a
is.
really clean broadcast. I think there's a lot going for it that it does like really well. I think some of the analysis from like from some of like the experts that they get in the pit lane. I think that's really valuable. Like specifically people like Ruth Buscom, who's able to bring
Mhm.
you like from the pit wall strategy, like from the mind of a strategist, like what teams are like thinking during any given session. So I think people like that bring like incredible value to the broadcast. Individuals like Sam Collins, who
Mhm.
probably knows more about like he's probably forgotten more about Formula One engineering than like some people know about Formula One engineering. The way in which he can articulate the functions of a Formula One car are kind of unmatched. So yeah, they really do have a fun, an educating broadcast as well. Like I feel like I've learned so much just from taking in the information and just kind of trusting that these guys are like just trying to bring you like up to date current information. So yeah, I think to your point, I think they have a lot of good stuff going, and it is just like a really great broadcast from just like a product perspective. So it is. It's
Mhm.
like, what would you change?
Yeah, I love it. So hopefully they just take it and make their money on the addition of that to Apple TV. Um, Someone who's not interested in making a little bit of money though is the Red Bull ownership consortium that turned down a $2.3 billion offer for the Racing Bulls team. Um, Having four drivers is worth more than $2.5 billion to them. So yeah, pretty interesting. Just especially on a valuation like aspect of some of these teams. I know that the teams, especially like McLaren or Ferrari, who are tied to specific car brands and all, have a very strong value associated with them with that altogether, but just as a standalone team, that's a lot of money to say no. That's not enough. So I think that also increases probably some of the values of other teams um, in Formula One as well. That maybe are some of those standalone teams like a Haas or a Williams.
Do we know who offered it?
I did not see that in what I saw. Um,
Gotcha. Because
yeah,
I have two reactions. If it's somebody or if it's an organization that's already within Formula One, it it makes sense that they wouldn't sell. Because you're right, that four
right.
seat advantage would be like um yeah, no, I just believe there's like value to the four to having four seats, and like nobody can really complain about it, but it's like, it's like the you get it. And then
Yeah.
if it's somebody outside of Formula One, I think it has to be turned down. I don't think you can just like like I don't think you can just buy a team. I think it has to be like I think it has to go to votes. I think it has to like go to a committee or the board, or MBS has to melt some wax, put it on his ring and
Um,
seal it.
I don't I don't know exactly how it works because
Okay.
there was that a few years ago when Williams sold their team to I'm sure that there were yeah I'm guessing there probably were meetings from the venture capital group that bought Williams from the Williams family who came in and probably presented things to the FIA and Formula One or whatnot. But it has been done, but and of course I think Renault has of sold to the Alpine team, and so there's been some sales of teams, but it seems like it's just outside investor groups that are trying to buy it. From what I found, versus another F1 team.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Okay. That makes
yeah,
sense.
so, but either way, a lot of money, and so I think like the turning down of those definitely just boosts the valuation of some of the smaller teams there because can't buy one for that much, other teams are probably gonna be like, "Hey, you gotta offer us a little bit more than that before we sell as well." Um,
How about $2.4 billion?
Gotta raise it. I'll give them about $10 for racing bulls and see how that goes. Um,
Bro, it's just a sweatshirt company anyway.
Pretty much. They do a lot of great content on TikTok too. So very content heavy team. But to wrap out the quick hitters this week, so we've talked about the FIA presidency race. Um, there is a lot of uh, clamor to call the presidency a bit unfair, or the race, because both Tim Mayer and Laura Villers had to drop out of the race because they don't meet a qualification that's or a requirement to officially run for the presidency, which um, you have to have a representative from one of the countries that participates in the FIA that's high enough of a level to like sponsor your run for president. And at the moment, MBS is the only person who has one of these people who will vouch for him, I guess, or whatever, for the run for presidency. So there's some conversation that it's a rigged election over in the FIA presidency race. So it's uh, looking increasingly like MBS will be at the helm for the upcoming years.
Very good. He's doing a good job. I'm glad that the Austin Trophy missed him and that he was not hurt.
Yes, we're very happy with our gracious FIA president MBS.
He lets it all happen. We have to be grateful.
Yeah, we get to be grateful, Justin.
You're right. It's a gift to be grateful.
But yeah, so definitely just weird that it's not, these are people who have a history in motorsports, who have like public scrutiny behind them and everything. They're not people who are just coming out of the blue going, who've never been in a race car going, I would like to be president, or have never been a part of this system. Um, so yeah, just kind of a weird rule that knocks the two of them out of the running, and yeah, kind of maintains the status quo for a bit more with MBS. But we'll slide from there over into the Do You Work Here segment. We had a bunch of little bits of news coming out. Cadillac has, of course, announced Colton Herta as their test driver. It's looking likely that he'll drive for High Tech for in Formula 2 next year as well. So, kind of as we expected, Colton Herta getting that test driver seat, and then the opportunity to work his way through the grueling F2 schedule, to put some races together, and maybe make his way to F1 by 2027. It was also announced that Franco Colapinto is increasingly looking like the option for Alpine next year. Um, Honestly, I think it's really tough to determine anything about the Alpine team because of just how have poorly they have done so far this season, and it doesn't seem to be kind of on any positive trajectory. So I don't think that there's any reason really to change if there's not some big name, high quality driver that you think you could bring onto the team to replace him.
Yeah, I guess I was pretty sure after that what was it, like 2 rounds ago, where Cole Pinto crashed and Flavio's in the garage. I was pretty convinced that it wasn't going to be him. Honestly, I'm still gonna wait and see. Um you know once we have like contracts announced, because yeah, I don't know, man. And then even on top of that, it's like Alpine has been just the quintessential backmarker team all season, like the whole time. So yeah, it's kind of like, whatever. If it's Colapinto that gets the seat, good for him. He gets another try. People were like removed for less, right? So it's
Yeah.
like kind of like free, like kind of survives it in some regard. But yeah, that's like kind of it. It's not like the team's doing well. It's not like that's a team that if I
Yeah.
was an F2 or F3 driver, like I wouldn't want that seat.
Yeah. And even the drivers that they do have in F2, I don't think are quite like ready for that jump either. I think Kush Maini and their I'm blanking on their other F2 sponsor driver that they have. It might be
Hmm.
Gabriele Mini.
Okay.
But I yeah, not either way. Um, I think yeah, there's not a big option out there that people are really going after. Um, so in this situation, I feel like the only other option would be, say, like a Yuki Tsunoda, in my opinion, if he doesn't end up getting the contract with the Racing Bulls team. It still sounds like Hajar is probably the first choice for the second Red Bull seat. Arvid Lindblad has been strongly rumored to be racing for the Racing Bulls next year. So that would leave just one seat for Yuki or Liam Lawson. And so that's, I think, maybe either of those drivers would probably be a slight upgrade from Colapinto, but I still feel like it's going to be um, much of the same relatively, especially if Alpine struggles to get their car in shape for the new
Right.
regulations. So,
Right.
yeah,
You're just gonna have a quality driver in a bad car.
yeah, it's a which I think is what we see with Gasly. Like he's struggling to even do much, and he's shown strong performances at numerous points across his career. He's a race winner.
He's a
He's
race
like,
winner.
yeah, like he's done something that many others on the grid have not. And so to see him struggling as much as he has, it just really it makes it very hard to judge anything when it comes to the Alpine team without knowing more of their kind of internal information there. But
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I think the biggest news that's been starting to come up into conversation though is regarding Charles Leclerc. Sounds like he is increasingly looking towards what his options will be, at least, or evaluating what potential options there are out there in 2027 outside of Ferrari. That has kind of caused this cascade or waterfall effect a little bit where the Ferrari organization is having all of these meetings. They're apparently having conversations with Christian Horner about coming in and becoming the new team principal because he has a track record of winning with a number of constructors championships and drivers championships. Fred hasn't been able to meet that, so it's almost starting to sound like that situation with that we see with drivers often, where it's like, well, you're only as good as your last race. The ownership of Ferrari seems to be kind of um, unsure of what to do with Vassar and going forward, whether to keep him, replace him with Horner, have him move to another position and bring Horner into the team. There's a lot of kind of options out there that I think are in consideration, and it seems to be all come back to the fact that Ferrari's looking at potentially losing their kind of golden child that they've brought up through the system, who is beloved by, uh, I mean, a lot,
The
most
Tifosi.
fans, but especially the Tifosi, and the thought of losing him and how much that could damage the Ferrari brand if that doesn't go well, I think is making them scramble a little bit to figure things out. And Christian Horner might be the answer.
Just pull a Frank Herbert. Just pull a Frank Herbert. You don't need Charles Leclerc. You just need a Leclerc.
They have a Leclerc.
That's what I'm saying. You just get his younger brother. He'll just be the quicker version of Charles.
Yep.
Who the heck cares? Let him go to Haas. Whatever. We got his brother. He's quicker.
I think who's Arthur's racing in, oh, he's racing in GT right now in the GT World Challenge. So yeah, with Ferrari, so he's still
One
he's
call from Fred.
well.
That's all it's gonna take.
Just don't tell anyone. Just the first initial switches on the website. Yeah, keep everything out. Maybe he's number 61 instead of 16 or something like that.
No,
Just
no, I'm not
try.
even.
Just don't
I'm not even
even.
saying you gotta like hide anything. No, it's just like, all right, yeah, bye bye, Charles. Like we don't need you. We've got the quicker version right here.
I have trouble imagining that panning out with how good of a driver Charles is. It's yeah, it's just a tough situation. I mean, like
For
even
sure.
looking at Mercedes and all, and losing Lewis after having him for so long, that was caused a lot of kind of chaos for their team with um, vetting all these different options before they settled on Kimmy, including thinking about trying to buy Max out of his contract. Like that's kind of crazy looking back on it, that's what the scramble was. We're losing Lewis, like how much do we have to pay for Max versus what they ended up doing, I think being the more logical overall process. But yeah, these situations where you have these long standing drivers who are beloved by your fan base, um, considering leaving is definitely a no one's pulled the fire alarm yet, but it's getting close.
Sure. No, I think every team principal wakes up in the morning, they check the Max Verstappen stock, they call their accountant and they say, "Could we afford it today?" The accountant says, "No, I'm sorry, we couldn't afford it today." Okay. I'll try again tomorrow. And they lose the
Yeah,
race to Max, they go to bed, and then they wake up the next day and they look at the Max stock and they say, maybe today. And they call their accountant and they say, "Can we afford him today?" And the accountant says, "No, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll try again tomorrow." And then it
it's
all
just
just
Groundhog
repeats.
Day.
And Max will be forever at the Red Bull.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Leclerc does. That's obviously still a year and a half out till 2027. But I mean, if things happen during the off season like they did before with Lewis, I would be shocked to see that happen, just because we are going into new regulations, and for that, I think there's going to be a lot of drivers who are testing the waters for the first half of the season before they start putting
Mm-hmm.
ink to paper. Um, but yeah, I think Ferrari's trying to find a solution to make sure that that C Leclerc signature goes onto their paper instead of someone else's. But overall, yeah, there's still a lot of driver, well, not a lot, but a few driver things to be solidified, mostly with the Red Bull 4 and the Alpines. But yeah, definitely some intrigue here as we're almost at the end of the 2025 season.
Oh yeah, it's always musical driver seats, once contracts come around. Yeah, I'll be interested to see the drivers that are holding station, to see who is nailing the regulations, and the ones that are like kind of like itching to get over into the fast lane.
Yeah, and I think people who make that jump, or teams that make those knee jerk reactions, I'm interested to see how that pans out down the line, because even in
Yeah, for sure.
current regulations, we've seen a back marker team for a few years with the McLarens really struggling. All the well, I won't say back marker, they're midfield for a long time. All of a sudden becoming this dominant team. Um, so yeah, really interesting things ahead in the F1 world. But before we get over into the F1 weekend, we just want to take a moment to thank everyone for listening. Remind you to please follow, subscribe, like the videos if you're watching or if you're enjoying the podcast. We appreciate everyone who takes the time to follow along, join our F1 community. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for listening, and back to the episode.
Yeah. And so leading here, I think you have got this next segment on lock.
Yeah, that was totally my bad. I threw it over to you, and then I realized, like, oh no, it's time for the hot seat. So
It
for
is.
those of you following along at home, we got 5 questions. We got three multiple choice answers each, all having to do, to some degree with the United States Grand Prix. So we're gonna see how well Aaron knows the USGP. Aaron, are you ready for the hot seat?
Yep. Let's get into it.
All right, very cool. So, question number one: the American Grand Prix has been held at a variety of venues over the years, but since 2012, the race has been held where? Is it A, Indianapolis, B, Watkins Glen, or C, Austin?
C. Austin.
You are correct, sir. Austin, Texas, the home of Circuit of the Americas. Very good, sir. Question number two. Famously, during a Grand Prix in the early 2000s, Michael Schumacher allowed his teammate to finish ahead of him like fractions of a second in the closing moments of the race to help secure him points in the championship. Who was Michael Schumacher's teammate at Ferrari at the time? Who did he slow down for, Aaron? Was it A, Mika Hakkinen? Was it B, Rubens Barrichello? Or was it C, David Coulthard?
That I believe is B. Rubens Barrichello.
Damn, you nailed that. You did. Yeah, there was no deliberation. You're a connoisseur of Michael Schumacher's greatest moments, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I've watched a couple mixtapes.
For sure. Yo, my favorite is when he's like boiling down the pit lane towards David Coulthard to have it out with him.
Oh,
That's
it's
like,
the best.
dude, that's the best clip ever. All right, question number three. In 2016, the Austin Grand Prix was one of the most attended due to the championship battle raging between Hamilton and Rosberg that year. What singer performed on the Saturday night before the race? Was it U2? Was it Elvis Presley? Or was it C, Taylor Swift?
I'm gonna go with A. You too.
Bro, that was a layup. It's C, Taylor Swift.
Wait, seriously?
Yes,
Oh wow, did not know that.
crazy. Crazy
Man,
Taylor Swift is an answer, and you're like, nah, it's got to be the other guy. Okay, question number four. A rare characteristic of the of the Americas track is the run up to turn one. What makes this feature so unique? Is it A, because it's an uphill braking zone? Is it B, because it's a downhill braking zone? Or is it C, because it's a loop de loop?
A, because it's an uphill braking zone.
Very cool, very cool. Honestly, one of my favorite turns in Formula One.
Yeah.
I think it's rather iconic if you ask me. But yeah, definitely a fun circuit. And now the last question, question number five. Max needs 2 more wins at Circuit of the Americas to tie the record for most wins at the circuit. Who holds the record with 6? Is it A, Vettel? Is it B, Michael Schumacher? Or is it C, Lewis Hamilton?
I think that is C. Lewis Hamilton.
Nailed it, sir. There you go. That's a 4 for 5. That's a 4 for 5. And you have to go tell your partner that you got the Taylor Swift question wrong.
So I will
That's your
say,
homework.
I mean, I will, but also I thought that that was part of the layup. I thought it was like U2 is a silly one, but like could have happened. Elvis dead. Taylor Swift, why on earth would she have been performing at the US Grand Prix? So I thought that that was like the other, like, nah, it couldn't be that kind of answer. I got myself mixed up on the layup there.
For sure, man. You were trying to pick my strategy apart. But
I was.
no worries. 4 out of 5, that's pretty solid. Better than some, obviously. So that yeah, solid hot seat here for the United States Grand Prix.
Yeah. So
I guess there's a bunch over, the Austin Grand Prix. We've got 3 of them this year, don't we?
US Grand Prix or
Yeah, we have Miami, Las Vegas, and
yeah.
Austin.
But this is still considered the US Grand Prix, just like they're like the Italian Grand Prix is at Monza, but we've had like the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix and all as well. Or there's like multiple in Italy and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm. No,
so yeah.
no, that's a good call. You're right.
But for the US Grand Prix, we do have some salacious headlines ahead of you. The first one, not my best headline, I'll say, but qualifying woes. We just had a lot of struggles, kind of for a multitude of reasons across qualifying. There were the weather conditions, a lot of gusts of wind that then created some issues with a number of drivers having lap times deleted, not setting lap times. I believe Bortoletto, possibly Stroll, a couple of different drivers had not gotten a qualifying time set in some of the different sessions due to track limits violations, dropping them back. We also had some issues with people getting started on hot laps in time. A lot of just blocking in the pit lanes and just everyone trying to take their time to find their gap on track. We saw in sprint qualifying with the shorter time clock, Yuki, Esteban Ocon, Gabriel Bortoletto all didn't get to put in a time or get back out to put another hot lap in at the end of qualifying, leaving them as the first ones left out in the sprint qualifying Q1 session. Um, and then in the main race qualifying, there was a number of issues as well. We saw Hajar have a crash in Q1. I think partially with just the gustiness of the wind and everything throughout the weekend, but yeah, just a lot of qualifying struggles across the board for drivers this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Even seeing some of the historically top performing drivers, even Oscar Piastri struggling to get like really quality laps in as well. No like terrible things happening, but yeah, still not where you would expect one of the McLaren drivers as well. So yeah, a good number of drivers struggling out there in the qualifying session.
Yeah. And so, Justin, what was your first headline for us this week?
I'm gonna come back to Piastri on mine. I brought to the table here. Coda pummels Piastri. Tough weekend all around. Leaves him scraping together only a few points, while Lando and Max close the gap. Had a just a really bad day on Saturday, both in the sprint race and then in the qualifying. Questions around, was there like damage to the car? Did they have to use like previous spec parts if they didn't have any new parts available? Because the pace difference between the Friday running and the Saturday running, or the pace between the Saturday running and the Sunday, I apologize, was like quite different. It seemed like there was either a performance difference for the car or a performance difference from Piastri, maybe just lacking a bit of confidence going into the weekend or like going into the, into the points paying sessions, I should say. So yeah, not one of the best for Oscar. Even him being the one kind of precipitating the McLaren crash out on the Saturday sprint, going for a gap that was closing quickly, we could say. So yeah, not like he was handed a bad sheet of cards. So yeah, I think Piastri is going to be maybe. Maybe a little sullen in the debrief.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of my headlines was turmoil at turn one, and yeah, the incident with Piastri knocking out Lando after getting hit by, oh God, who I guess being hit by Hulkenberg.
Hmm.
Was just it was a tough spot that Piastri put himself in. Like he didn't get that great of a getaway from the start, which of course does allow um, Nico Hulkenberg, who's in P4, to be up right next to him, and then Fernando Alonso, who got a great start from behind. I think just the expectation that that the people directly behind him wouldn't potentially be coming up to fill that inside line and everything. It was a little bit of a um, risky decision from Oscar and didn't pay off there. I did feel bad though for Nico Hulkenberg and Fernando Alonso. Like, Oscar's taken that over under line, trying to get past Max and Lando, and then forgetting completely about the other drivers around him. Um, but yeah, I felt bad for Hulkenberg. A great qualifying, first time he's been uh, up there in those positions since he got his podium, and then to go out there just three going into one does not go.
Yeah, big time agree. Because yeah, there were more more tires on the inside than yeah Piastri must have realized. So yeah, tough in that regard. Aaron, what's your next headline for us here?
So my last one is ball don't lie, which is in regard to Nico Hulkenberg getting unfortunately the DNF in the sprint race, but after a strong qualifying performance for the main race, starting P11, he works his way up into the points there, finishes P8 on the day. So even though he didn't pick up those points in the sprint race, he ends up getting probably the same amount of points as he would have gotten for in from the main race. So still picking up some good points for Sauber on the weekend.
Is ball don't lie? Is that like? And I'm like genuinely asking you. Is that like similar to real recognize real? Is that similar to is that like a comment on class where it's like,
So
yeah, you can like take him out like early, but he'll bounce back?
so it's more of
My
a
my my old brain doesn't get it though.
no, it's okay. It's more similar to real recognize real, where it's a more sports terminology. Like if the officiating makes a certain call, there are plenty of times that very shortly after that, um, the team that was on the wrong side of that call makes a big play, and even though they um, say an NFL team, they get called for a penalty on defense. It pushes the other team up close to scoring a touchdown, but then that defense intercepts the ball and takes it the other way for a touchdown. It's like, well, the officiating didn't go in our favor, but like the ball doesn't lie. The ball still ended up going in our favor, even though the officiating didn't, kind of thing. So it's
Oh,
like it kind of pans
okay.
out down the road like the even though I don't think it was a racing incident. It's a bummer that Nico gets knocked out there. Nothing you can really do about it, but
Hmm.
he was showing strong performance and he still did in the race. Like it would have sucked if he starts P4 in the sprint, gets knocked out there at turn one in that incident, and then just has a terrible main race and doesn't get any points. It's like, well, man, like he should have. He was right there. So yeah, that's the more I guess breakdown of the ball don't lie terminology. So that the ball
Gotcha.
knows what's right.
Gotcha. I actually understand it way more when you have like the ball don't lie. That makes sense. Where it's like, yeah, it's like the game piece judges ultimately. Okay, now I understand. Now I understand.
Gotcha. That's good to know though
That's
from that.
fair.
I thought you might like Thorin also often talks about like NBA and basketball and everything, and so it's also commonly used in like basketball. So I thought
Sure.
you might know that one, but I'm happy to
No, dude.
give a little Gen Z younger millennial lesson for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, my brain is smooth as a baby's bottom, you know. And anytime Duncan says Scottie Pippen, I just turn the video off and I go do something else. I'm like, what's a quarterback, man?
Oh, that's great. Um, but yeah, and then did you have
My second
yeah.
headline here for this race, I have A Tale of Two Teams. If you know,
Okay.
great novel, A Tale of Two Cities. Williams mixed results from the sprint race on Sunday, or yeah, the sprint race on Saturday, and then to the race on Sunday. They kind of look like two different teams. Both Albon and Sainz having a good amount of pace during the sprint, and then throughout the qualifying session and then into the race, they're just looking like the pace fell off. Did they change the setup? Something like this. So yeah, traditionally, you know, Albon, a driver that I really enjoy, can usually find advantages on tough weekends. Didn't seem to be able to make that happen on the Sunday. And then Carlos Sainz, who we've seen have a relatively strong run of performances, isn't really able to capitalize on the weekend after that sprint. We see him up high into the points paying positions, but wasn't able to complete a similar, a similar race there on Sunday. So kind of unfortunate in that regard. But yeah, for me, I just think I would have liked to see a little bit more out of the Williams, just based on what they were able to do in the sprint.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think for Carlos too, like he just got a little too impatient, and I think maybe that's because of the like you said the solid string of performances he's put together that he was maybe just itching to get up in this case past Kimi Antonelli where he has that collision. We saw a number of drivers have similar incidents on the weekend. We saw Lance Stroll take out Esteban Ocon in a similar fashion, just uh, braking too hard, locking up, and sliding kind of into the other driver there. Um, but yeah, Carlos, I think he was in a pretty solid position for that main race with the P9 start. Not obviously as high as he was in the sprint, like you said, but yeah, just getting a little too antsy and didn't pan out too well for him at the end of the day.
No, that's a really good call. I forgot that it was him that crashed into Kimi Antonelli. Both of them taking like a much different line through that turn. So you're right. Okay, it was like a bit of an unforced error that kind of sealed Carlos Sainz's fate. Okay, that's good. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I mean, 100% in line with what you were saying. Like it's very bizarre to see a team have such a disparity on a sprint weekend where it's so drastically different, especially kind of in that. downward trajectory. I feel like we've seen teams do okay in the sprint and then perform better in the race and qualifying, but not as frequently where we see them do. They're just kind of blazing fast in that sprint race and then falling off there in the main race. So yeah, tough end of the weekend for Williams. Kind of only picking up those points in the lower points session of the weekend with the sprint race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, those were two kind of storylines that stood out to me. Yeah, I think in the battle for the drivers' championship, I think Piastri takes kind of a big hit, and then just wanted to just comment on one of the like midfield teams that I've enjoyed watching their results. So I think that's a couple of interesting stories from the U.S. Grand Prix here.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of continuing on talking about like the McLaren, I think that's one of the biggest just storylines from the weekend. The double DNF in the sprint race, Max coming back into that contention for the championship even more. Fortunately, only in the sprint race where Max picks up just 8 points there versus it being a 25 point swing for Max if they had done that in the feature race. But yeah, really a tough weekend. And it seems like Oscar has, like you mentioned earlier, almost lost some confidence that he seemed to have these past few weeks have looked a bit shakier. And even though he's um, not this isn't a major collapse. Both Lando and Max are slowly creeping closer. Max being 40 points back now, and Lando only being 14 points back in the championship there. And that's, I mean, Oscar had such strong consistency. I think it's kind of I'm not really sure what to make of it with his recent struggles. He's just looked so strong up until these past few races, and still looking generally strong, but not as good as his title rivals here.
Yeah, definitely some ebbs and flows to like where the drivers have been peaking. It definitely seems like Lando and Max are gaining where he may have like been plateauing a little bit. So yeah, he's to bring the fans into it. He may be looking in his rear view, seeing Max getting pretty close pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of wild because it's letting Lando really make up the ground from a couple of tough weekends that he's had with causing his own DNF earlier in the season, hitting Oscar, then his mechanical failure that he had a few races back. So he's had
Hmm.
two races where he hasn't had the opportunity to finish and lost out big points to Oscar in those races. Um, but slowly just kind of chipping away at that lead there. So yeah, I mean, leading the championship for the first time clearly can um, make drivers kind of show some cracks here or there. We obviously saw Max had a few of his own back in 2021 in his fight with Lewis in that
Hmm.
first title fight that he was a part of. So it's not an easy position to be in, to say the least. But I think it just makes for some very exciting, um, some exciting math for some of the viewers of Formula One as we're going week to week and seeing how those gaps shrink and grow between the top three.
Yeah, the quant Formula One fans are just going crazy right now doing all the math. But you know what? I like this thought came up while you were talking about the difference like in a 15 race season, like it would have been locked up. or like for a Max, like it's
Yeah.
locked up. He's winning 15 out of 15, right? But in a longer drawn out season, like you just have more opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's these really, really tough circuits that are like in a a historically long, and I say historically to be like this is one of the longest Formula One seasons ever, right?
Yeah.
So like
I
yeah,
think
it's
the
it's
longest this year. Yeah.
right, so it's just going to go back and forth more just because there are more races. There's more lap one, turn ones, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the place where like dreams end, you know what I'm saying? Like you just have many more of them. And to your point, like the ball doesn't lie. Like it's going to go back and forth over the long
Right.
term, right? Everybody's going to like settle around that 50% of like even if you're on the podium, that win like still counts for a lot as well. So yeah, I think we're just seeing how actually grueling the 24 race season is once we're into the final rounds. And to your point, like you start to see the cracks show even from people who we were touting as like, bro, this guy, he's just like he never like he's never making mistakes, he's so consistent, yada yada. But it's like, for bro, on round 19, round 20, let's see how the composure is, you know what I mean? So maybe I bring that up to maybe take the microscope just off of Piastri just a little bit and just say like, yeah, the season's really long. I think it makes sense that the pendulum will swing back and forth. And not everybody's going to be able to just go, infinity wins right in a row. It's just
Yeah.
too long.
No, I think that's actually that's a really good point to bring up because yeah, the season, especially with you have 6 sprint race weekends in there as well, along with 24 races. It is very difficult, and like, um, there anything could change. Someone's weekends for a little bit, maybe they're, and especially if there's certain circuits that Oscar is just more comfortable with than maybe in certain sections of the calendar than others. Like, and that's similar for every
Mm-hmm.
driver. We talk about week to week how there are certain drivers that are somewhat of, even this weekend they talked about Pierre Gasly on the broadcast being a little bit of a circuit of the Americas specialist. He's beaten his teammate in qualifying every time he's been in at the U.S. Grand Prix, which is I had to think back, and I think he didn't hang on to that seat. I think Albon came in and was in before the U.S. Grand Prix the year that he was head to head with Max for half a season. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like there's always these drivers that have certain special tracks or just styles of tracks that they're more comfortable. Even Max loves the driver um, focused circuits, the Monacos, the Singapores, where driver skill like does make the biggest difference there,
Mm-hmm.
um, versus the car difference. So yeah, I think like you said, to take the microscope off Piastri, like it's we've seen Lando have struggles across the season too. We had Max have some down races earlier in the season before the summer break where he started to really put together these weekends, and so yeah, it's kind of to be expected when there's this many races and this high quality of drivers out there that you're not gonna beat all these other guys every single weekend.
I
So
mean, the amount like just count up the amount of world championships that are like on the grid right now between Max, Lewis, Alonso, right? Like
yeah,
we're in a season of freaks. Like you're saying, it's going to be tough to stay on top of that.
definitely.
You just want to be on the upswing going into the final rounds as opposed to like on the downturn. And that's where we can bring it back to Piastri and say, yeah, you'd rather be Lando than Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, uh, looking at some of the other teams, like you said, the quality and being on the right trajectory. After some struggling weekends, this weekend Ferrari picked up a huge amount of points versus Mercedes in that third place fight, and Red Bull as well. They picked up 20 more points than Mercedes on the weekend. I think Max was just able to keep pretty close. I think they still lost out on um, probably, I don't know, about 5 points from Red Bull's side to Ferrari even winning both the sprint and the main race on the weekend. So very tight fight in that constructors. Red Bull has 331 points in fourth. Ferrari has 334 in third, and then Mercedes at 341 in second. So just a very close fight for P2, 3, and 4 in the championship.
Yeah, and if you look at the race from Ferrari, yeah, they weren't contesting the top positions, but I thought the race from Charles Leclerc on Sunday was, one of the most entertaining elements, like on a moment to moment basis. The starting on the softs, making a quality attempt to try and get the overtake on Max. Yeah, pretty aggressive, but that's what the softs were there for. That was kind of the goal. Had an attempt, went for it. I appreciate that. And then he was able to make them last like a good bit, and it felt like a good bit longer than maybe like his original pit window was. And then it seemed like his stint was so good to a degree that you saw kind of other teams maybe like moving around him, and taking whatever tires they were on and just going all like right onto the softs and, just ending their race from there, just doing the one stop in that regard. Whether that was the plan or not, I'm not sure. But I think Charles's stint showed them that there may have been a little more life in the tires than they may have originally expected. So they could, gain a little bit of room in their pit windows in that regard. So I thought it was really cool to watch Charles's race. The gift, honestly, of Lando having to overtake twice, one in the first stint and then one in the second stint. There was even a point in the second stint, during the closing stages of the race, I was looking at like the battery, looking at like how many laps were left. I was saying, I was like, I don't think I actually I think he's done. I'm not sure he can like I'm not sure he has another opportunity. And then he was able to back off, get the life back into the tires and make a really good attempt. So I thought the race from Charles and like the races that he was in were quite exciting and really fun to watch.
Yeah, he drove super well. His defense was very strong. He was like taking the defensive line only when he knew he had to, but maintaining the faster racing line in as much as possible. Just like a very good judge of that distance with Lando there. I think unfortunately for Charles, I even though it got us to see two exciting overtakes from Lando's side, I personally I mentioned it to you. I would have had Ferrari pit Leclerc before he got passed by Lando, go for the
Hmm.
undercut a little more aggressively, especially when you see kind of the pace starting to fall off with the soft tires. Um, I think that might have made it a little tougher on Lando later, but we still could have ended up with the same situation because Lando did drive very well and had put in some good stints there to keep up with Leclerc. Um, but yeah, just a solid weekend for Ferrari, picking up a lot of good points. Hamilton was very competitive in the sprint race, getting past Charles, and then had a strong performance with the P4 in the main race as well, even though he was off the pace. he kept Oscar behind him, which was definitely not the easiest feat, even with Oscar struggling a little bit with whatever car issues, confidence issues, and whatnot he may have had over the weekend. But yeah, strong from the Ferrari team there. Um, and my other kind of big highlight from the weekend was I was really impressed with Fernando Alonso again, just performing kind of as well as possible. He gets the P6 sprint qualifying. Um, Unfortunately, gets DNFs in that sprint race, but then qualifies P10. Finishes P10, and so he snags that point for Aston Martin. Not anything um, outrageous like a P3 Nico Hulkenberg or anything, but he's just proving consistency with that Aston Martin car. I think his head to head in qualifying this year is like 30-0 with Lance, including the sprint races and whatnot. Um,
Gotcha.
so it's something like it might not be quite that high, but I don't think Lance has outqualified him yet this season, and so as a 40-something-year-old, Fernando is just out there putting in some solid race weekends, um, and kind of just surprising me with the pace that the Aston Martin can have when I felt like they had fallen off a bit halfway through the season.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching watching where Alonso is able to finish and watching some of the battles that he gets into on track because yeah they have a good amount of race pace. I think they struggle in the qualifying obviously, where it's like not they are still like in the midfield effectively. But yeah, always able to improve it seems for Alonso during the races. So I think that's like a great quality of both him and the car. Where even if they're not able to get the most done on Saturday, they can they can shift up a little on Sunday, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it shows his quality, age, experience, whatever you want to say, speed, to just be putting in these performances consistently here for Aston Martin and picking up even just 1 point on the weekend, in a tough weekend for a lot of people to get points on the board.
Yeah, for sure. I think the circuit is a I won't say a unique challenge, because a lot of the challenges of this circuit are inspired by other elements of circuits around the world, but they are challenges indeed, including like the winds and the environment around. It is large open track, so you just have gusts and breezes coming from different vectors depending on like what turn you're at on the circuit. So yeah, I think a tougher race weekend, just as a whole, not just from a not just from a circuit perspective, but also like an environment perspective, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And then were there any other notes or notable drivers teams that you had from the weekend? Trying to.
No serious points that I would bring up. Just that it's obvious that the Max fans put the fix in to Nico Hulkenberg. You pay enough money, he'll get in the way of anybody. So we're gonna have to look out for that. A little bit of goon squad action going on. So that's really tough to see from Hulkenberg. I didn't know he would stoop that low. And
I'm
then
sure he had a nice comfortable flight in Max's private jet on the way home.
yeah, I don't know. Like, would you have to sit with Max? Because you're just gonna hear about like sector times, tire life, like camber and shit, just like the whole flight.
I mean,
Max
if he's
explaining just like his setup.
if he's got drinks, I'm sure Nico would be up to hang out, have a drink, and and listen to Max talk about racing. Who
A
knows?
devious duo,
Max might
man.
have a sim up on the plane that he's too busy with.
Yo, that's actually that would actually be sick. Driving on the sim like 30,000 feet in the air. Oh my god, that would actually be crazy. But no, I don't think the fix is in. Actually, I'm just trolling. The other thing that's tough, because he's my favorite rookie driver. It was tough to see Isaac
Mhm.
Hadjar's weekend. Because yeah, I think he has potential in that Racing Bulls to maybe like kind of outperform his position sometimes. But yeah, this weekend definitely the circuit was against him for sure. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next race to see Isaac Hadjar, because yeah, it was kind of tough this weekend for him in the Racing Bulls.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's been my top performing rookie on the season as well, in terms of like performance with the car and everything. And so I hope he bounces back. I know he's obviously got strong mentality after the way his season started in Australia and then how he's performed. So just one to kind of shake off and move forward from, as we head on to Mexico for the next Grand Prix coming up this weekend.
Yeah, but Mexico's a great circuit. I have a feeling he'll bounce back well. Because like I said, he has the potential to to be up in the points. I think the car is there at this point in the season as well. So yeah, just needs more opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting. Mexico's always um, a little bit of an outlier of a circuit in terms of tire wear and some of those other things being at higher elevation in Mexico City. So I know the McLarens have done well because of uh, their minimal tire wear that they have, but yeah, sometimes those circuits can um, create for some one-off races in terms of performance, and hopefully he can bounce back with a solid one here in Mexico this weekend.
But yeah, I think this was a pretty low key United States Grand Prix. Like pretty much right from the start, Max was just gone. Really was just a race for P2. I feel like what was really unfortunate for me was like, yeah, Max wins, but like you don't get to see him at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't mention that just out of spite. But no, I mean, I think the weekend we saw a lot of really good racing and close battles. Max, fortunately and unfortunately for me, was not part of that. It's back to I was, yeah, teleported back to 2023 where you could just let Max go and then watch the other battles on track. But no, I mean we got to see a lot of good back and forth between Lando and Leclerc throughout the race weekend. A lot of nice battles and everything. So it was, even though it wasn't the most overtakes of a U.S. Grand Prix weekend, we saw some pretty solid fights, and we had a little bit of chaos there in the sprint race to add a little spice on top of everything. So yeah,
Yeah, big time agree. Max Verstappen W, Lando Norris P2, Charles Leclerc P3 is your podium. And just so you remember, MBS, he did not get hit with the trophy. He's fine. His glasses are fine. He's fine. It was all okay.
he's all good to go. Very fortunately, don't want
He's
anything
good to go.
happening to our fearless leader, MBS there.
Yeah.
But we'll head on over to the cool down lap here with the rose, thorn, and seed for this week. I'll kick it off here with my rose, but Colleen and I had our trip out to Colorado last weekend. It was really nice time. We had a blast out there with our friends. Did a little bit of hiking their area. Denver has phenomenal Mexican food, which I wouldn't have known until I went there, but The Hatch green chilies that they have that are they have all the different salsas and hot sauces and toppings and everything. Just some very good food while we were out there. The hiking was fun. It's not anything compared to uh, or it's so different compared to hiking I've done here on the East Coast, I guess is a better way to put it, where um, just the elevation, some of the views, the steepness and the slope of some of these trails, and we were on a pretty um, easy, I guess, trail in terms of things. So very fun time out there for my rose this week. My thorn is just lately I've been just kind of lower energy, tired. I think it's a little bit of mental exhaustion. Work's been um, a lot lately with just the amount of stuff and the amount of resident issues, I guess, that have just kind of thrown a wrench into my normal daily things that I'm usually able to get to. I've been having to just come in a little early, stay a little late some days to get through everything I need to, because my days are filled with watching security cameras and all sense of nonsense with the residents. So yeah, not the most exciting stretch I've had and all, but my seed is that with that said, I think another part of that exhaustion is that I am kind of ready. I feel like I've gotten to that point where I'm definitely starting to job hunt a little bit more, just looking for something that I'm going to have a bit more um, of a work and home life balance and structure and separation, I guess, more so, where I feel like with my job I can sometimes be almost on call like kind of anytime. So I'm starting to work on some certifications and things to bolster my resume and whatnot that will hopefully help me as I'm doing some job hunting. So definitely a seed. I know it's not going to be quick to go through and get some of these certifications and all. It'll be a bit of extra studying and whatnot in the evenings, but I think it is going to be a benefit overall with that job searching, um, to find a good option that is going to get me that kind of what I'm looking for with that work life balance.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine feeling like you've finished for the day, only to be met with like more emails or phone calls later in the evening is uh I can imagine that is a grating problem to encounter often. So yeah, I don't blame you, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of I think it's just that time, and I think that comes with jobs. I've been there before. This is the longest I've been at one place, so I think that's, um, I mean, a positive overall. But I feel like being there long enough, I see some of the issues in the systems and whatnot, whether it's in our own company or just at the property that aren't being actively like improved or fixed, that I'm kind of like, well, I've been dealing with this issue for this long, um, but by this point we probably shouldn't have to, and kind of
Right.
being like at the end of my rope there with some of those things. So yeah, it's just about that time to start looking and searching and all, and we'll see what's out there. But that's my
Hell yeah.
rose, thorn, and seed here for this week.
Well, sir, Colorado was one of five state quarters released in 2006
Okay.
with the special Colorado backside that commemorates the 50 states. These coins were released from 1999 to 2008 and Colorado was released in 2006.
I do have a lot of those coins. I don't remember when they were all released though, so that's impressive knowledge.
Well, you may be wondering, why am I telling you this? Well, sir, I spent some time going through a stack of quarters. You see behind me, those are all state and or national state park quarters.
Okay.
Um, and we have like folders, like collector like
I
folders.
I've got them too. Yep, the big map.
Exactly. So I went through. So there were a couple laying around. I found the nicest one and I filled up all 50 coins from all 50 states, and they're all nice and shiny in this nice like little collector's map. So I was very, very excited about that because it was something that was like it's been like on the far, far back burner for like a long time in my family. And now like finding some of this stuff, having what I, from looking through some files, I knew there was at least one full set of quarters. I knew there
Oh
was
yeah.
at least one full set. And so what did I do? I dumped all that out. I organized it all by state, and I found like one full set, in a
The
I found
shiniest
a needle
one.
in a right. I found a needle in a haystack effectively 50 times. Um, so
I
I thought
like
that
it.
was really cool. So now I have like one full 50 map of all the quarters. So I was very pleased with that. So that's my rose. My
Impressive.
seed is the organizing, the file shredding, the moving around of things, the vacuuming. I've been assisting my mom with just cleaning some stuff out down in the basement, and reorganizing and like finding some new homes for things. And like in the organizing, you find these quarters, you find these booklets. The booklets are empty. The quarters are supposed to be in the booklets. So I was like, all right, well, here we go. So you take a problem and you solve that problem, and then you solve the next problem, and the idea is you solve enough problems, you get to go home. So that was two of the issues. We got to sort through some files and all of these things, and then
Okay.
we get a nice state quarters map out of it, and then my thorn in being in transit, I was on my way to work, book bag on, car in the driveway, and I'm looking out and like there's a car just like backing into the driveway. And I look over, I'm like, "Hey, like do we know this person?" It's a car that I didn't recognize, and I was like, "It's a Tesla." And she's like, "It's a Tesla." She's like, "I don't know anybody who has one of those." And these two ladies get out. They're kind of like shuffling around, and I'm like looking at my watch. I'm like, I've got to go. Like I literally have to go to work, and they've just parked me in like in our driveway, and they're like getting out to have like some type of conversation, sell us something. I'm like, what? Like what is going on here? Like I'm hoping it was like one of my mom's friends, so I could just be like, hey, like can you move? Like I gotta go. I come out and like they were kind of like startled that I like went outside to meet them. Usually I guess protocol is like they knock on the door, we shoo them away, that kind of thing. But I went out to them, so they were like, "Wait, what's going on here?" Lo
And
and
you're like, I've
behold,
got something to sell you.
yeah, yeah,
You walk out to
bro,
them
that
and
would have
just
been gold. That would have been gold. I didn't think of that. Damn, you're way funnier than I am. Yeah, I was just like, what do you guys need? But just by laying this scene out for you, could you, Aaron, tell me what organization these people were from?
Oh, I'm gonna guess the Jesus Christ Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormon missionaries.
Jehovah's Witnesses,
Ah,
but yeah, they were
close,
asking me
close.
like how I feel about the future and telling me, like the Bible can save me and all of these things. And it was funny. She quickly realized that she was like in the way. She was like, "Oh, I see you're headed to work." I said, "Yep, yep, I am." So she was like she was very friendly, and I think like when I met her with like kindness and understanding, like I wasn't mean to them like at all, you know.
Yeah.
So we had like a just a really good interaction, but it just started out with me being like, "Yo, I'm sorry, like you just have to get out of the way." Um, but yeah, I've never had that like interaction before. You know, you only hear about it, you know, the door to door
Yeah.
these types of things. But it was very funny to encounter it in real life, and you
Oh yeah.
realize like damn, yeah, they were just a couple of nice people. So yeah, that was a funny interaction, and the only reason I have it as my Thor was it was just like it was weird, it was
Inconvenient.
awkward. I was like, yeah, it was inconvenient. I was worried I was gonna be late, having to hear about how the meek will inherit the earth.
Yeah, well, it's funny talking about the door to door. Colleen used to work for a company that does door to door like window siding, like house improvement sales and all. And so uh, we have kind of a get out of jail free card that she's played. So she'll occasionally have someone come knock on the door, work being in a work from home environment a few days a week, and she can just come out and be like, "Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, but I worked for XYZ company," and they go, "Okay, we get it," and they just leave because they know she understands the process, the initial sale, the scheduling a meeting later, other people come in to do the evaluate. Like she knows that whole process in that
Sure.
realm, so she's able to just be like, "Yep, I worked for these guys for a bunch of years," and they go, "Okay, have a good one," and just head on their way. Um, so I guess that would be the equivalent in your situation to coming out and just being like, up, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Have a good one. They're like, oh my gosh. Like,
Oh, right. Like I'm already a recruit. No,
yeah,
see, the
you're
problem
like,
with
I
that
know the
is they'll
whole
ask me
thing.
for the
Like,
passphrase. They'll ask me for like some secret code, and I'll be like, Cthulhu. Like I don't know.
these ladies just like whip out some secret handshake that you have that you're supposed to know. It's some like
Right.
crazy. Yeah, you don't have all the insider info. A little tougher to do with something like the Jehovah's Witnesses than door
Yeah,
to
I don't know what
door
Wu-Tang
window
signs are gonna be
sales.
thrown up, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, that's a funny one to have for the Thorn this week. Oh,
I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, that's my rose thorn and seed here for the week.
awesome. Well, as always, the cooldown lap brings us to the end of the episode here. So we had the U.S. Grand Prix this week. We have the Mexico Grand Prix this coming weekend. So we're looking forward to that. And we appreciate you all listening along with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Just remember, we have an episode after every single Formula One event of the year. So if there's been a Formula One race, there will be a Tired Boys episode after it. So come and join us. We love talking about Formula One. We love sharing it with the fans. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
So yeah.